Alright guys, so here's what I do to sharpen up my Rocksteads. Pretty simple. I'll make this real quick. So I got this little Norton hand sander right here with a foam backer on it. I just kind of stretched some 2000 grit sandpaper, 3M. I just get mine at like Home Depot or something, wet dry sandpaper. Just stretch it over here as tight as possible. I believe you can get these hand sanders online or something. What I typically do is I leave the sandpaper. You can see this flap over here, since it's wider than this, I leave it flush to one side here. So I'll just kind of make sure it's nice and flush, and that's the side I'll use to sharpen. This side gets in the way. Snap this back on there. I got my little bottle of mineral oil here. Just kind of throw a little bit on there. Rub that in real good. Less is more. I usually end up with a little more. So what I'll do is I'll just rub it a few times and kind of just wipe it off on my pants or whatever. You just really want a little bit, or else that oil just kind of doesn't allow you to get to the actual sharpening medium. And this one was used pretty heavily today. There's a little nick on the edge right there. I don't know if you can see it. Edge is pretty beat up today. I don't know if I can get a piece of paper to show you. Looks like it's still sharp, but I can feel this catching a lot, especially on the tip. Ain't cutting nothing. The tip is catching real bad. A lot of the parts are still pretty sharp, but some parts are catching pretty bad. So anyways, what I'll do is I'll take my oiled side, and I'll just kind of put the edge on there and just kind of look at it with my eye until I see that the apex is right on the sharpening medium. You ain't got to be shy about hitting the mirror polish on the sandpaper, because 2000 grit ain't gonna scratch it up. And I'll just kind of go at it for a little bit. Kind of work on the sections that need it most. Cut about 1 million zip ties today. We're holding some stuff on a fence. Wedge this fine tip in there, and proceeded to push. Cut the zip ties, kind of pop them off. And a few times I hit the edge against the metal fence, which caused some of these dings and dents. So the edge definitely needs a little touch up. I'm going to do this edge trailing. This is edge leading. You know, the edge is leading the blade. Edge is trailing behind. So I always do with the sandpaper in an edge trailing manner. It's essentially like stroping, but same thing. Yep. And that's it. I can still feel this little nick right here is pretty good. So what I'm going to do When that happens, when it's completely dull, so I get my Spyderco not sharp maker, double stuff. I do the same thing, except I do an edge leading motion. And I get all the oil off the blade first and make sure your stone's clean. If your stone's not clean, it's clogged, it's ain't gonna do nothing. And just very carefully sharpen it up. Yeah, there it is. I can feel it right here. So I'll hit that a few times. Get rid of that little roll on there. And by the way, these things sharpen amazingly easily. Well, how quick I can sharpen up a Rocky from dull to sharp. I'm always using pretty light pressure, especially on the ceramic stone. The 2000 grit sandpaper, you can use a little more force, but definitely not necessary. I'm sorry if you can't see what I'm doing. It's kind of hard for me to show you what I'm doing and make sure I'm hitting my apex at the same time. Yep, that little mark is gone. Tip can use a little bit more touching up, so I'm gonna proceed to do so just on the tip with the stone. Always make sure you're hitting your apex. Don't forget that these bevels, the inclusive angles change when approaching the tip on Rocksteads. I think that might only apply to Hanzukuri, not Shinogi Zukuri. So, but this one's Shinogi Zukuri. Nonetheless, if you know how to watch your angles, it shouldn't matter. It should come second nature if you can watch it. It shouldn't matter what the angle is. Should be able to eye it if you're good. Yep, tip's all fixed up. A little chip or nick or whatever you want to call those out here. I feel for burrs. Got a little burr right here between bevels. And a little bit of a burr on this side. So this side's got more burr, so I'll kind of do a real light pass just on this side. Maybe I'll do twice because that burr was feeling kind of ugly. Feel again. They're gone. Go to this side. The burr flopped over, so I'm going to hit this side a few times. Gone. Flipped it. Sometimes you'll flip these burrs a little bit back and forth sometimes, so that's when you want to kind of start working your way to knock them down with lighter and lighter pressure. Alright, so just to keep this convex edge, because that was mainly just to kind of realign my apex, I'll just go back to the sandpaper, give it a few passes. Feeling pretty good. this side a little more. Take a swig of my beer. Calms the nerves when you're sharpening. Once I think I'm about complete, that's when I start doing even strokes on each side. Because sometimes if one side you feel a burr on one side, you want to work on that side more than the other, obviously. This is just kind of common sharpening knowledge. If you don't understand that, then sharpening your Rockstead might be a little challenging. Notice I went from 2 passes each side to 1 pass each side now. One more side for good measure. Feel the burrs. It's feeling good. Put up a napkin here, wipe off some of this oil. This on the side. Got my little bottle of rubbing alcohol I kind of spray on the blade. Get all that oil off there. I'm going to go stroke next. That's why I'm going to get everything off the blade. I don't like to get oil on my stroke. Strop, stroke, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm actually doing this on my bed because I don't know any other way where I could set up a camera and leave it nice and steady. Actually, set my iPad up. I'll lean it against something right here. That's how I'm able to record this. If I had 3 hands, I could have done it easier. I'll stroke a little bit more than what's recommended just because I just touched this edge up. So, and that edge is done. Sharp as ever. Definitely shaving. I don't know if you can see that hair on there. And a piece of paper. Where did that go? Yep. Sharp all over again. Got the tip too, which was not cutting very well before. See, it's cutting fine now. That little edge that was there's a little nick right about here. Completely gone. That's all, folks.